I think it's funny, whenever I give a sermon and talk about something specific, people always send me things and leave things up here, or a box will come in the mail and it'll be something that I mentioned in my sermon. This morning, I would like to talk about the Ducati Multistrada motorcycle. Well, Christmas is coming up, all those celebrations. It's a week of celebrations for us. We're gathering this evening, as Joanne said, at 6:30 for our children's program and our candlelight circle. The joy continues for our family, with Madeline turning 8 years old this Tuesday. I'm looking forward to that. When Joanne asked her what she wanted for her birthday, Madeline said, an iPad tablet. I was listening from the other room and heard Madeline say she wanted an iPad tablet. The wrong thing to say to a librarian who won't even tolerate a television in our home. I was listening to their conversation and I thought to myself, honey, that ain't gonna happen. I yelled out that what our house needed was a puppy. And Joanne shot that down too. The other day, our son Spencer had an early morning commitment, so he called me late the night before and he said, hey, can you go and pick up Madeline and take her to school? And I said, absolutely, I'll be delighted to do that. So I went and got her, and she came out of their house with her backpack on, clutching a handful of envelopes, which turned out to be invitations to her birthday party, which is being held at an ice skating rink. 8 invitations addressed to certain classmates, kind of her own little posse of girls that she runs with. And it gave me flashbacks from when I was a kid, how I was invariably the 9th child, waiting for the invitation that never came. Because of that painful memory, we never let our children invite just some of their classmates. Instead, we told them Quakers didn't celebrate birthdays, which saved us both money and drama. People say you should never lie to children, but those are the people who never had children. Children would have made George Washington lie. That's what children do. When I first had a child, I said to myself, I will never, ever tell my children a lie, which lasted about a week. Isn't it interesting, though, thinking about Madeline and her friends, how early we gather ourselves into tribes and groups and cliques. Even cows do this. Spencer has this old cow, number 41, that came in his first herd of cattle. He never takes it to market because it's become the boss cow. If he wants to lead 100 cows from one corral to another, he doesn't have to herd every single cow. He only has to call out to number 41, who trots right up to him and follows him wherever he goes, and all the other cows follow number 41. They just fall into line. We're kind of like that, aren't we? You ask someone who they're going to vote for, and many people, Democrat and Republican alike, will say, whoever is representing my party. We fall into line. We do this in religion. A man who attended my old meeting on the east side of Indianapolis once was very mad at me because I refused to tell him what he had to believe. A lot of people just fall into line, and we learn this at a very early age. We're rewarded for it. I've been reflecting this past month on the stuff I want to do before I croak, my geezer manifesto. And today I want to affirm that in my geezer years, I will not fall into line. I will not vote for certain people, believe a certain thing, join forces with certain people just because someone says I must. I will mightily resist what the American sociologist William Wright called groupthink. You've heard that word before, groupthink. Here's the definition. The psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people when the desire for harmony or conformity results in an irrational or dysfunctional decision. Groupthink. Groupthink avoids raising controversial issues or alternative solutions, resulting in a loss of creativity and independent thinking. Nothing will enslave and encumber a group of people more effectively and efficiently than groupthink. Groupthink is the parent of every vile and noxious movement in history. Think of the evils around which kindred spirits have gathered. Nazism, racism, sexism, tribalism, anti-Semitism, classism, nationalism, homophobia, each of them a consequence of people affirming an ugly and wicked belief to promote group conformity, going along to get along, groupthink. As I've aged, I've noticed myself dwelling on the more negative aspects of aging. The physical and mental decline, the loss of friends and spouses. I do this so often that sometimes I forget the benefits of aging, and there are very distinct benefits of aging, one of which surely must be the emotional freedom we experience as we age, our capacity for scorn. The other day, a friend of mine over in Danville told me, he saw me at a restaurant, he came up to me and he said, hey, that article you wrote for the newspaper made somebody really mad. And he said again, he's really mad at you. And 20 years ago, that would have kept me awake, knowing I had made someone mad. But the other day, I just said, well, that's his issue, not mine. As we age, we develop the capacity for autonomy and the ability to resist emotional coercion. We stop going along to get along. Chatting with Madeline about her birthday party brought back a memory of mine. I think I was in the 4th grade. And my mom told me I could invite 3 of my friends to attend the play Young Abe Lincoln at the Edavine Theater at Christian Theological Seminary. Mom said, who do you want to take? I said, well, I want to take Bill and Tim and Ricky. And she said, I didn't think you liked Ricky. I thought he was mean to you. And I said, yeah, but if I don't invite Ricky, he'll talk bad about me to other people. And I just couldn't bear the thought of Ricky doing that. And so I asked him to come to my birthday party. But remembering that moment made me so glad to be a geezer, no longer having to earn the approval of unkind people. In our geezer years, we are free. Our ability to bear the scorn of others permits us to defend the weak and face the bullies. I don't think I've ever spoken with you about the Quaker man named Benjamin Lay. Benjamin Lay was one of these persons lost to history, and then an obscure scholar stumbled upon mention of him in old Quaker meeting minutes, and dug a little deeper and wrote a wonderful book about Benjamin Lay. Benjamin Lay was a dwarf, born to Quaker parents in Colchester, England in 1672, some 23 years after the founding of Quakerism. He and his family eventually moved to Barbados, and while they were there, Benjamin Lay, as a young man, witnessed firsthand the horrible abuse of enslaved people, and he became an abolitionist. His family then moved to Philadelphia, where he set about irritating and infuriating his fellow Quakers with his anti-slavery speeches. This was before Quakers had determined that they would no longer hold slaves, and there were many people in Philadelphia who held slaves, and some who traded in the slave trade. We know Benjamin Lay today because of something he did while attending Philadelphia yearly meeting in 1738, when he rose to his feet holding a Bible. He withdrew from his coat a sword, which he plunged into the Bible, which contained a bladder of blood-red pokeberry juice. It was meant to resemble blood. And as he plunged the knife into the Bible, the bag burst and the pokeberry juice flew out, landing on Quakers seated nearby who also happened to be involved in the slave trade. This, as you can imagine, did not go well, especially when he cried out that the blood of the enslaved people were upon them. His punishment was swift. He was bodily removed from the yearly meeting, and the 4 Quaker meetings with whom he was affiliated disowned him. And when he died, some 21 years later, he was buried in an unmarked grave in the cemetery of Abington Friends Meeting. In 2018, 259 years after his death, Southern East Anglia Area Meeting, part of Britain Yearly Meeting, became the last of the 4 Quaker meetings to reverse his disownment. In 2011, incidentally, during the Occupy movement, the town square of Jenkinsville, Pennsylvania, was renamed the Benjamin Lay Plaza in tribute to this fine man. I do not know if we are ranked in heaven, but if we are, I am persuaded that Benjamin Lay, who cared more about justice than praise, sits in the highest rows of glory. Let's one day sit with him. In times of great moral crisis, friends, we find ourselves in one of 2 places. We are either carrying out the dissenters, or we are being carried out. Make sure always, in the great human struggle for justice and mercy, that you are the one being carried out. Never join together with anyone else to shut down or stifle the dissenting voice of kindness. Be carried out before you join the throng. Go in peace and turn and greet friends.